Well, the question is low voter turnout and also all these things that are hampering the IEBC to register you as a voter. The most important thing is that have you registered as a voter? And Sophia Wanuna is also standing by. She has an update for us. Sophia?
Choose.
Sophia?
Thank you very much, Linda and Eric. Indeed, voter registration exercise closing today. I'm now joined in Studio B by CEO IEBC James Oswago to talk more about how the exercise has run for the last 30 days. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this evening. We appreciate your time. I begin by asking, are you satisfied with how the voter registration exercise has run in the past 30 days?
By and large, yes.
Okay. Just yes. What are some of the challenges you have faced? What are some of the challenges you'd highlight you have faced?
I say by and large, yes, because the Commission has done everything else that it was expected to do in preparation for this exercise and in running it. There were earlier challenges, there were earlier teething problems in the first 2 days or so, but we overcame those logistical challenges. And everything was in place for the larger part of the period that the voter registration was continuing. And yet, the turnout was not as good as we thought it would be. Let me give you an example. We had 15,000 kids. Our calculation had been that if you had a minimum of 50 Kenyans registering per kid per day, then that would tally to 750,000 registrants per day. And if you extended that for 30 days, then you'd have 22.5 million Kenyans registering within the 30 days.
All right.
What happened was that the kids were underutilized, the clerks were idle most of the time, and we were disappointed. This is the part that we couldn't project clearly. We thought that the turnout would be a minimum of about 50 people turning up a day.
All right, you say that, but the truth is the BVR kits were way less than the voter registration centers. So for most people, really it was an issue of access, being unable to access the BVR kits because they fell way less than the number of centers you had. So for some people, really huge, long distances apart. So in that regard, do you feel you failed Kenyans in that part to avail them closer to them?
No, I don't think so. We had this exercise was being done in several registration centers.
Right.
And in all those centers, we had either a kit dedicated to that particular station or a kit within the ward that could register you anywhere within that particular place. But I'm yet to find a place in the world where voter registration instruments or equipment is found all over the whole place. People have to move to where registration is done. I think we came up with a novel experiment of trying to move around, in an attempt to reach the people where they were. This is as a result of the lessons we learned during the referendum and during our previous history, that Kenyans would want, you have to go where they are.
All right. As we were conducting the exercise time and again, the IEBC had said that the rallying of Kenyans to come out to register is not a preserve of the IEBC and that all stakeholders must be involved, the government, Kenyans themselves, those seeking public office. Do you feel you have received enough goodwill from all these stakeholders?
Yes, there was enough goodwill. His Excellency the President spoke, all major political party leaders have spoken, religious leaders have spoken. All professionals have spoken. You people in the media have been wonderful for the larger part of the 30 days. All people across the whole spectrum of our society, all cadres of leadership have spoken and urged people to go and register. So we are satisfied that the support that we've got from the leadership in this country has been commendable because they've spoken a common language. A language exhorting people, asking people, pleading with Kenyans to come out and vote, sometimes using stronger language than necessary, but with the aim of having people getting excited to come and vote.
All right, very quickly, the Executive Director, Institute of Education and Democracy, earlier today speaking to Edith Kimani in our news desk show, said that the government was spending about 860 million shillings per day on the voter registration. Is that correct? And if so, would you quickly break down for us how exactly that money was being spent per day?
Well, we have, take for example, we have 30,000 clerks, and we are paying those clerks about 1.2 billion shillings just for the duration that they work for us. Apart from that, there are other expenditures to do with voter education, which you have to do, and the government doesn't pay much about voter education. A lot of the budget for voter education is shouldered by donors.
But that is close to 1 billion per day. Are you saying that is all it was being used to do every single day? Close to 1 billion. That's 30 billion.
No. It is not that. It can't be 30 billion because the entire budget for the voter registration is about, if I put it extravagantly, is in the region of about 2 billion, something like that, 2 to 3 billion. It can't be 30 billion.
If it was 860 million per day, that's 1 billion per day. Are you saying that's not the correct figures that was being spent on the voter registration per day?
No. It certainly, that's not correct.
That is not correct.
Certainly, that's not correct.
Final question before we hand over back to studio. Many Kenyans wondering why the requirement to ensure that you register where you're going to vote come the 4th of March general election, saying that this is an electronic system. Why? Because then initially it was the black books. So this really information, one would assume, should be able to access by a click of a button anywhere around the world, since it's all electronic. Why that requirement?
You can configure that kit technologically so that a Kenyan in Nairobi, you can register in Nairobi and vote in Nyeri or vote wherever. You can do that. Technologically, you can do that. But remember, this is a very complex election. You have to recall that we are coming from a background of post-violent background, and there is, even the prognosis for this election is not very good. There are people who still say that it may not be as peaceful as you want to.
Right.
So the commission had to consider many factors.
But could it have been possible, before quickly we wind up this first segment, could it have been possible for one to register in Nyeri and vote in Mombasa because it's all electronic? Could it have been possible?
Of course.
You're just being careful because of the factors you're raising?
Of course, it could be possible.
All
you
right.
can do that.
Okay.
But doing that comes with
A cost.
the key thing in building a register is verification. The key thing, the integrity of the register comes from verification.
Okay.
If you are registered here today and you're going to vote in Malindi, can we be sure that we have put you in the correct register in Malindi at the particular time that you're going to vote?
All right, thank you very much. We are pressed for time, but this conversation continues shortly, and I hand you back to Studio A. Linda and Eric will be back with more questions for the IEBC CEO. Stay with us.
There you go, Katie and Sophia Nuna speaking to James Oswago, the CEO of IEBC, asking all the questions that you may have had. And of course, she's not done yet. She'll be back in just a few minutes.
Well, as the voter registration exercise came to an end today, the next headache for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is the preparation of the registrar for inspection.
But as the Commission works out modalities for this, KTN has learned that some discrepancies are emerging, with some voters' ID numbers having been used against other names to register in different locations. Willis Angira reports.
As majority of eligible voters grappled with the last-minute dash to enlist themselves as voters, one of the aspirants in Kiambu County is fighting to ensure that her registration as a voter will indeed count come March 2013. Terry Kairu had lived abroad for the last 18 years and came back home to build the nation under the new constitution. In the March 2013 elections, she is gunning for the Kiambu senator's seat. All was well until she went to register as a voter and got the shock of her life.
Right now, I'm not sure what is happening. The IEBC should come clean and tell us what is happening. If I am a candidate and my information was fed in the BVR machine, who did that? The computers don't feed themselves.
Efforts to have the anomaly rectified seem to have hit a dead end. Despite being registered as a voter and holding a voter's card, checks on the IEBC database using her ID number still brings up details of one Joyce Chepkemboi, a voter registered in Uasin Gishu County.
I think somebody is doing something funny. That is how elections start. They start rigging the elections when things like that happen.
Terry Kairu is one of many Kenyans who will wake up to this nightmare when the voter register comes up for inspection. For now, she says her only option is to take her case to the corridors of justice. Willis Angira, KTN Prime.